Good morning.
Good
I
morning,
have the
Patricia.
pleasure, good morning, I'm Patricia Wilson Phineas. I have the pleasure of spending a few minutes with Bishop George Dallas McKinney of the St. Stephen's Cathedral Church in San Diego, California. And sir, I have read your wonderful biography and know many things about you, that you are not only a pastor, but you are a licensed marriage and family therapy counselor. You are the father of 5 sons. I understand from you that you have been the foster parent of over 200 children over the last 35 years. And with that incredible background, I wonder if you could talk to me a little bit about what do you see as the services and the programs that are needed for fathers and families in these terrible times we're living in right now?
There's no question, Patricia, that we have a crisis in the village, in our communities. And I think that in the urban community, the most stable agency or organization is the spiritual, the faith-based church. And somehow we must rethink our programs in order to develop more male-friendly, father-friendly programs and activities in our churches. I think that we have failed to challenge those men who are involved in the community to become mentors. Young men whose fathers have abandoned or in prison, or whatever circumstance the child is fatherless. They are men who, I think, when given the proper challenge, would be willing to give of their time in mentoring and nurturing, spending time with helping to shape the personality of boys and young men, to help them to transition from boys into manhood.
I think that's so important because so often men have been essentially pushed out of work that, so often we serve women and children, but we really haven't spent the sort of time on men and fathers that we need to, either in social services or perhaps in the ministry. And so I wonder, what are your thoughts in general about the fatherhood movement? And more specifically, what movement are you seeing, or what can be developed in the area that your church serves specifically?
Let me first respond to the fatherhood movement, which is an exciting movement.
It is indeed.
It is the kind of response to a crisis that is absolutely needed. There's a recognition of the urgency of men being involved with their children. And I think that this movement is going to grow.
It is indeed.
Because for too long we've been going in the negative direction, and now this movement is saying enough is enough. Let's capture the attitude, the involvement of men to recover family life and to rebuild that sense of community that really ought to be. Now, I think that the church has a responsibility to, as I said earlier, to foster programs and activities that would attract men.
Yes.
And that would challenge them to become mentors, and also to encourage them to become responsible fathers and providers for their families and their homes. Several years ago, I had the privilege of speaking, as being one of the speakers with the Promise Keepers movement.
Yes.
And we would have gatherings of 40, 50,000 men. And I made it a point to ask those men, if you have a child that you have abandoned, that you have not made connection with, I challenge them in that setting to do everything possible to reconnect with that child, because there's something missing in his life.
That's right.
When he's out of the picture.
That's
so we need to be positive and aggressive in recruiting men to be involved as heads of the household, as providers for their families, as lovers for their wives, and as role models for their sons and daughters.
And I think that's true even when the husband and wife are no longer together. I think that the father is an extremely important figure in the life of that child. So
Yes.
On behalf of the Coalition of Fathers and Families and as a member of the Board of Directors, I want to thank you for the time you spent with us this morning and for your wonderful remarks at the prayer breakfast this morning.
It is indeed a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much, Patricia.
Thank you very much.